In this video, I'll show you how you can make this so you can later make stuff like this. In Ardour, start by creating a new track. You can right-click on the side here to make a new track. And then we want to make sure we're using MIDI track instead of audio, so change that from the top left. And I'm going to use the Black Pearl drum kit, so select that. And you can add it. Now let's expand that, make that a little bit larger. And then I'll just scroll down to C2, which is where the notes start for this particular instrument. That's our kick. Just place a MIDI region, a note there. And I'll right click on the side there, and I'm going to change the note mode to percussive. It's just a little bit easier to see when working with drums. And I'm going to make my pattern a little bit larger. You can use the shortcut key G to go into grab mode, and then either D to go back into draw mode, or E to go into edit mode. Some quick shortcuts there for Ardour. And I'm just going to put on the 2 and the 4 here on this measure, I'll put some snares. And we'll put some more kicks in there, just kind of to taste. And we'll throw like just some closed hi-hats to start out here. And I'm just pulling everything up to full velocity to start out. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now let's throw in some 8ths on the upbeats there. And pull back on the velocity on those as well. Now what I usually do there is just control and click on the note and then duplicate it over very easily. And then do the same thing here. Pull that velocity down a little bit more for these in between these 16th notes. So just pulling these over. And drum patterns really can be whatever you want them to be. For me, I usually start with something kind of like this and then go from there. I'm by no means a drummer, so do not judge me. All right. Now, what I want to do probably is listen to this, just see what we have. You can loop this. Okay. It doesn't sound horrible. It's a little bit robotic, though. So, let's make some tweaks here. I'll go back into edit mode, and I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to pull the velocity of all of these notes down. You can do that with the scroll wheel, if I didn't mention that already. All right, that already sounds a little bit better. I'll just keep tweaking a little bit here while this is looping. That's a lot better. It's also a lot quieter, but we'll deal with that later. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll go ahead and just save this out, just in case we have a crash here or something, which can happen sometimes when dealing with MIDI in Ardour. Okay, especially when you're doing a bunch of MIDI editing while playing back. For some reason, I have the worst luck. I don't know if it's Ardour or if it's jack transport stuff going on, but anyway, save often. All right. And now I'm just selecting all of these, and then again, that control click method, you can drag out entire sections of notes and duplicate them with the control click. And I'm actually going to make this 4 bars instead of 3. I had it 3 there, but 4 bars for this breakbeat. And right now it's going to be pretty generic since it's just one measure copied over. So Let's go ahead and add some movement to the kick. Just change things up a little bit here. And just some variations in velocity there as well. Here in a moment, I'll listen to this, and if it sounds bad to me, then then I'll move things around a little bit more. I mean, it's all a process of listening to it and deciding what's going to work. So we'll start with something kind of like that. And let's go ahead and give it a listen here. See. I think I can move these two notes. I think I want to make this one a little bit louder. And I think I want to add some snares right at the end here. Maybe add one more. Definitely going to be doing some tweaking on the velocities of these. Let's get kind of like a little roll or fill effect there with the snare. And you can easily, as you can see, spend just crazy amounts of time making edits here and getting everything just so. At some point, you just have to call it a day. All right, so what I need to do now is give this a little bit of a groove, and you can hit Alt-5 to pull up the quantize menu with everything selected. And then you need to check the swing box and add an amount there. Usually I go with like somewhere between 10 and 15. And you can see that the notes have moved. And it sounds just a little bit funkier. Okay. Now that's sounding pretty good to me. I could probably spend way more time on this, but I don't think I will. Alright, so let's just get out of edit mode here before I change anything else. Can hit the G key to do that. Very easy. And next what we need to do is add in some effects. This sounds pretty dry at the moment, but we want it to sound like an old record or tape or something. And I'm just going to be using CAF plugins just to keep things simple here. Definitely not my favorite for every single thing, but they have a lot of great tools here for making something sound vintage. We'll start with a compressor coming right out of the drum output there, and then add a reverb to get kind of a room sound, and then we immediately want to squash that with the high and low pass. So the 8-band CAF has the high and low pass on it. Got a CAF saturator that's going to add that tube or tape warmth saturation to it, and then I'm putting on this CAF exciter here. I tend to throw that on at the end of the chain just to give a little bit of harmonic content at the top there. So let's see. Well, what I did there is I just went ahead and disabled everything but the compressor. We'll start with the compressor. I'm going to leave that ratio on the compressor at 2. And I'm going to aim for a reduction of about 2 dB, somewhere in there. So I'll just tweak that threshold until we're there. And then I'm going to pull up the makeup gain until we're a little bit higher on our output for our post fader there. So somewhere in the range of like 3 something. Okay, it's pretty good for the compressor. We'll move on to reverb, which calf reverb is definitely not my favorite, but we will make it work for this. So first thing I do is change the room size to medium and then pull that decay time way down, somewhere in the range of a half second. So we just want this to sound like, you know, a studio or a drum room, whatever. That sounds pretty good for the reverb. So we'll move on down to the equalizer. So I'm just gonna throw on a low pass and a high pass right away. For the high pass, get about 45 hertz, and then the low pass, I usually start out around 10K for anything that I want to sound kind of vintage. And I'm actually putting a little boost in here around 3 kilohertz, just like 1 or 2 dB, and then gonna pull that Q down just a little bit, so it's just widen that out. So let's hear that. So you can really hear that low pass doing its thing. Okay, cool. I'm actually gonna pull up the makeup gain on that compressor a little bit more. All right, and then we'll move on to the saturator, which just adds a nice little extra color here. I'm gonna leave everything as is, but get that blend right in between tape and tube. You can hear if I bypass it. Very clean. Saturation just kind of fills it out a little bit. There's also post and pre-filters. So essentially we could get away without using the EQ that I just put on before, and maybe we will do that. Maybe we'll use the pre-filter. You know what? This tone control in the middle is also going to give us that boost right around 3K like we want. So why don't I do that? So like 45. And 10-ish. Close enough. Okay. Tone control. Let's hear the bypass one more time. Yeah, I think that works. All right, so I'll just get rid of that EQ. And we'll move on to the exciter, which again, this is just adding a tiny bit of harmonic content to the top end. We'll bypass it first, and then hear it. Can also listen to the effect on its own. I think that's pretty good. All right, and there's just one more effect I want to add. And that would be the calf transient designer. Just to add a little bit more bite to the attack of those drums. The attack and release boost. Make that pretty simple. All right, that sounds pretty good. Now we'll go ahead and export that. File export. And I'm going to choose the CD Redbook preset here with the normalization. Since we want to render that out at 44.1 and 16-bit. Here I'll give it, I'll use the session name, and then for a label here I'll just put in the BPM. We could always come back and render something out with a different tempo. And just in case I make changes at that BPM, I'll put a 1 on there. All right. And here's what we have. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check the links in the description for more information about all the tools used.